Hello, and welcome to Roly Poly Weight Loss. I am your host, Roly Poly, and welcome to day 7. We are in week 3, and it is a Monday, which means it is weigh-in day. So, I am at 270.8. Well, I'm still losing, so this is good. Okay, that aside, get you in here. Got the right distance. There we go. Alrighty. So, we are starting with a warm-up today. As I said last week, we are bumping up to a 20-minute workout with 2 minutes of warm-up and cool down. So we're adding about 10 minutes total. Now, a 25-minute workout might have seemed insane before we started this, and such a big time commitment. But coming up from 15, it doesn't seem that bad. It's only an extra 10 minutes in your day. 9, technically. So that's reasonable. And our warm-up is just a slow version of our workout, which for now is a slow pedaling. And our cool down will be the same. And I am putting this timing app through its paces with this. So you heard the ding to start us on our warm-up. There will be another one to clue that the warm-up is done, which will sound different. So today's topic is actually a couple topics. It's a bit of a grab bag, and I'm going to cover a couple of smaller topics that I just want to get into before we get too far into this process. Okay? Is my workout helper back? I don't know. She hates it when I move beneath her, so I don't know why she wants to get up here where I'm moving. So, the first thing is weighing in, what we just did. As you might have noticed, I am weighing in every Monday, and though you don't see it, I am not actually weighing myself on the other days. I am weighing myself once a week. Now, I have gone back and forth on this, and I've had different schedules. I've done the thing where I don't weigh myself for a couple of months when I know I'm not eating or exercising right. Oh, and there's our warm-up done. Pick up the pace here. So I've done that not weighing yourself at all thing. I've done the daily weighing thing, and I've done the weekly weighing thing. And I'm currently sticking with weekly. And how often should you weigh yourself is a pretty divisive topic, I have noticed, it seems. I know some people who swear by weighing every single day, and some who weigh themselves multiple times a day, and some who go with like weekly or monthly or something on that scale. And like I said, I've done both. I've done that every single day, and I've done that I don't even want to know because I know it's bad. But what mostly works for me is weekly. So I wanted to know if there was a right answer. And what do you know? Possibly the reason that regular roly-poly people disagree is because the experts don't agree. And even when they agree on the results, they disagree on whether or not that's a good thing. So, for example, on the subject of weighing yourself daily, on bodybuilding.com, they have a registered dietitian, Paul Salter, and he said this: your weight on any particular day can be impacted by numerous variables, including the previous day's food, fluid, and sodium intake, and even your stress and sleep habits. The swing, both up and down, can be larger than you expect too. One day you're down, hooray! The next day you're up, then up again, yikes! If you're the type of person who feels like you're personally on trial every time you step on the scale, this can be exhausting. And yeah, from personal experience, it can be very exhausting. Especially because he doesn't even mention things like hormones. That also can change your weight drastically overnight. And Jillian Michaels, the amazing personal trainer, she confirms this on her site. She said, your weight varies throughout the day. Not only does your weight change every day, it also changes at different times through a single day. So there is no point to weighing yourself every day, and definitely not multiple times a day. This is because of body fluid fluctuations. You might be retaining water from too much sodium consumption, or you may not have gone to the bathroom yet. Gross but true. All of these things affect your weight. The issue with checking the scale daily is that the minor fluctuations can freak people out or discourage them from their weight loss efforts. And that is what I have found. Again, I'm a weekly kind of person. So that idea that those small changes where you're like, yeah, it felt good yesterday, and then you wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, you gained 2 pounds. Well, that makes me give up. But Psychology Today has a different take on that same daily stress. And they say daily weighing can be a useful strategy to lose weight and prevent regain after weight loss. Seeing a small loss may be rewarding. On the other hand, if there's been a gain over yesterday's weight, it's a reminder that an increased focus on today's intake is needed. Of course, they go on to point out that people who have an eating disorder, like anorexia or bulimia, shouldn't be that focused on their weight. And also, I'm like, oh, water. Personally, I think that tiny increased, weight gain from the day before doesn't necessarily mean I need to focus on today's intake. It means that I ate like a different amount of sodium yesterday or something. This, obviously, my personal opinion. This is why I'm a weekly. But bodybuilding.com's dietitian expands on that idea, and he says, can daily weigh-ins be done wrong? Definitely. Plenty of people have seen their weight go up a pound and say, not eaten on that day, or made a similarly drastic choice. But with the right mindset, the daily ritual can be a very helpful tool. Just remember that the number itself doesn't matter. Seriously, go buy a scale that's off by 30 pounds if it helps you to just watch the trends. So, again, he says your actual weight doesn't matter, but it's using that information. So, he also cites a study where researchers looked to see if there was a link between how often people weighed themselves and their weight loss results over a long period. They found that those who weighed in daily versus a group with 1 to 6 days between weigh-ins, about a week, 7 to 29 days, or 30 plus days, lost significantly more total weight. Those with longer intervals between weigh-ins had a much slower rate of loss and lost less total weight. And that's scary to me because that seems to say that I should weigh myself daily, which I find more stressful than helpful. And prevention sums up both the pros and the cons pretty clearly. They said weighing yourself every day or close to it is a way to hold yourself accountable, says Mia Sin, a registered dietitian nutritionist in Charleston, South Carolina. It's factual information that may subconsciously influence your eating habits during the day and prompt you to make healthier choices if you notice you're getting off track with your goals. Of course, there are caveats. If weighing yourself presents some sort of unhealthy trigger, say you have a history of eating disorders, or seeing your weight prompts feelings of anxiety or depression, step away from the scale, adds Sin. A better option may be to weigh yourself weekly and look at the long-term trends. So that kind of, like I said, sums up the pros and cons of daily weighing. And the bottom line about daily weigh-ins seems to say that it depends on your mental health and your reactions to it. If you can use a daily weigh-in to prompt motivation or track trends, then it's a good thing. If you use the daily weigh-in to punish yourself for the slightest hormone or water fluctuation, then that's not great. And we run into the exact same problems with weekly weigh-ins. So Jillian Michaels advocates for weekly weigh-ins, and she says, weighing yourself just once a week will give you a more accurate read. You'll allow time for the scale to actually show weight loss. The number on the scale will help you figure out if you need to make adjustments to what you're eating or how you're exercising. And also she makes a note that really, for a normal person in a normal situation, that weight loss in a week's time should be like 1 or 2 pounds. She specifically says, don't judge it based on like Biggest Loser, where they were losing like 10 to 20 pounds a week. She's like, that's not reasonable. So that 1 or 2 is what you're looking for. Medicine Net Dr. Melissa Conrad Stopler adds that daily weighing can lead to discouragement and potential diet sabotage if you see a higher number on the scale than you saw the day before. Most diet experts believe that a once weekly or even monthly weigh-in is a more accurate reflection of weight control progress. That said, there are ways to do weekly weigh-ins wrong. Dietitian Salter from bodybuilding.com says a study out of Psychological Reports found that weekly weigh-ins, the preferred method of choice for many popular group weight loss meetings, motivated many people to beat the scale by engaging in unhealthy weight control practices in an effort not to look bad or feel embarrassed. Of course, beat last week's weigh-in no matter what it takes isn't an ideal way to make a lasting healthy lifestyle change. Additionally, having large spaces between weigh-ins may leave weight gain unnoticed, making a single weigh-in feel like a serious punch in the gut. And I think that one's more aimed at the ones that say like 2 weeks or a month, because over 1 week, unless you're doing something really crazy wrong, you're not going to gain like 5 or 10 pounds in a week. But with all of these different opinions, what do we do? Well, it seems that the answer is what works best for you. And that is a complicated process involving several factors, including your mental state and how you approach your weight loss goals. If you're the kind of person who can weigh yourself daily and use that to track long-term trends or motivate yourself, then great, do it daily. If you're the kind of person who would feel like the scale is ruling your life and that even the slightest increase is a cause to fast or whatever, then daily weigh-ins might do you more harm than good. Conversely, if you're the kind of person who can weigh yourself weekly and see those trends and feel like you aren't stressed, then go for weekly weigh-ins. But if you're the kind of person who fixates on that weigh-in day and purges or restricts before or follows other unhealthy habits on that weekly schedule, then that's not great either. Whichever schedule you keep, you should just do it in a healthy way. So that seems to be kind of the sum total of the expert opinions. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to look into this is because Rolling Mama and I have this disagreement quite often, actually. As I have fairly well established, I'm the kind of person who stresses about daily weigh-ins and much prefers weekly ones. And I don't purge or overwork out or anything like that the day before. If it's like a crazy, like I went up 3 pounds, I might like do it the next day as well and be like, was that accurate or was that just kind of weird? And if it's, again, still 3 pounds up or something, I'll be like, okay, something went wrong. But I don't do crazy things to affect that weigh-in. Rolling Mama, on the other hand, weighs herself every morning, which always felt obsessive to me, but it motivates her. And I now understand that. Because I wanted to know which of us was wrong. And it turns out neither of us was wrong. We are just wired differently in our brains to use different motivations. So we are doing our own different styles in our own different healthy ways, it turns out, which also go us. Oh, water time. So, that seems to be the answer to our arguments. But another thing is, overall, most of the experts I've cited today also note that the scale isn't the most important part. Prevention's dietitian, Mia Sin, says you might also pay closer attention to the fit of your clothes rather than the number on the scale as a gauge of your weight and shape fluctuations. They also cite dietitian Angela Onsgaard, who notes that if your weight loss plan includes a muscle building component, it's important to not put too much emphasis on the number you're seeing on the scale. Simply looking at your weight doesn't show you that you may have gained 5 pounds of muscle and lost 3% body fat. And bodybuildings.com's dietitian Salter agrees. And he says, the thing about weight is that it's really just one piece of the progress puzzle. It's not the piece. Exercise performance, appearance, measurements, energy level, body fat percentage, all of these things indicate important changes, but you can't measure them as readily as weight. If weight loss is your goal, then sure, weigh yourself. 2 or 3 times per week should be sufficient to give the benefits of the daily weigh-in without the stress of the weekly one. But know this, sometimes the scale won't budge for days or even weeks, even though important changes are happening in the realms of body composition and athletic performance. And Medicine Net's doctor agrees. Cues other than the numbers on the scale are equally important. How do you feel? Are your clothes getting looser or tighter? Do you feel stronger, healthier, leaner? Your own perceptions can be the most valuable tools to help you track your weight control progress. So, the bottom line appears to be, don't never weigh yourself. But pick a timing between constantly and never that fits your situation, the one that stresses you out the least. And keep in mind that the scale isn't the only metric you should look at. This is why I actually took measurements and photos and posted them, because I'm not just looking at the scale. So, with all that in mind, I will stop bugging Rolly Mama about how often she weighs herself. So, topic 2 is actually my lovely little timer app. There are a number of timer apps, and many of them have specific reasons to use them, like you're building up to something. But Interval Timer is a generic one that's kind of do-it-yourself. It has options for a simple set of intervals or a complex one. It lets you create a warm-up and a cool-down, and also lets you create intervals in the workout itself. You can use these to switch from high to low intensity, and I also use them to remind me to drink water, as you've seen. You set an interval, and then you say how many reps of that you want to do. So I do enough to get me to the 15 or 20 minutes. If you're creating a complex routine, you can set different types of intervals with their own timings and reps and cycle through them. There's a lot of flexibility in that way. You can pick different sound effects for each change. So that's my sound effect for the get water. That's different than my warm-up and cool-down one, you'll notice. When we get to that in a few minutes. So you can pick different sound effects. You can color code the different intervals. So you just need to glance at your phone to see what you should be doing. You can see right now, it's green. It will change when we switch to cool down. And it was yellow for warm up. It's also compatible with listening to music and includes those controls at the bottom, so you can just pause or skip through your workout playlist. And there's also a pause and a stop button for the timer itself. So if you need to pause for some reason, like, I don't know, your shoe came untied, but you don't want to lose your, like, momentum, you can just pause it, tie your shoe, stand up, unpause, get back to going. And then when you finish, it asks if you want to log that routine, and you can, so you can keep track of how often you worked out with it, which is pretty cool. And you can name and color code the routines themselves. So if you have different things you're doing, like a short walk, a long walk, a jog, a peddler routine, you can save each of them with their own little name and color, and then you can just go and pop on the one you want. So interval timer. It's a handy free little app that is super intuitive to use, but it's also great to help you keep your workouts on task. So check it out. It's what I am using. And another quick app I want to touch on. If you are doing any kind of outside workout, like Rolling Mama and I do with our No 0 Day May walks, No 0 Day May walks, you should check out this app, Road ID. Also free, and you can use it to track your timing and your route, but it has a more important function. It's a safety feature. I used to use this when I lived further away, and Rolling Mama got worried that I was going on walks at night after work. So you can pick an emergency contact, and it alerts them when you start and when you stop your routine. If you use the eCrum option, they can also follow you on a little map and see where you're going. You can set your lock screen so that if something happens to you, the app displays your profile and information to call your emergency contact. And you can put a short message in as well, like if you have some kind of medical condition they should know about. You can also set it with a stationary alert. With this, if you stop moving for 5 minutes, it will start a 1-minute countdown with this loud beep. And that's your clue to get moving again or to stop it if you're stopped for a good reason. And if you don't, because you can't for whatever reason, like your blood sugar has dropped and you are passing out, it will alert your emergency contact that you're in trouble. And then, like I said, it will display on your lock screen for anyone who happens by you to know that you need help. And there's a few other settings that you can customize. And you can tweak the one about how long you stay stationary. You can create like a second alarm and you can change that up. But the great thing is that if you're walking or running or biking or otherwise outside of your home or your gym, out somewhere alone, or even with another person, I mean, 2 people can get hit by a car. I mean, you don't like to think about it, but it can happen. You can just make sure that someone else is aware of where you are and what you're doing and when you should be done. Ooh, and that little dong was our cool down. So we'll slow this down. All right. So, it's just a great safety feature, a backup. And if you get hurt or if you are in some kind of trouble, you can get help. You can alert your contact to call you and check on you. It can help Good Samaritans or first responders to know more about you and to know who they should contact for you. So it really made Rolling Mama feel better when I was out walking alone, that she knew where I was and she could follow my progress around my block, and she knew that if I stopped for a long period, it would let her know. So have someone keep an eye on you if you're going outside and doing stuff around out in the world. So Road ID, that's the app. It's fantastic, and I want to make sure that you know about it. So with that, we covered weigh-ins, we covered timer app, and we covered safety app. And those were 3 little things I just wanted to get into before we got too much further into this journey, because they're important, but they're not quite beefy enough for an entire 20-minute workout to be dedicated to just one of them. But I did want you guys to know about them. So check all of those things out and figure out, in terms of weigh-ins, what suits you best, what stresses you out the least. If you're a daily person like Rolling Mama, or if you're a weekly person like me, those are both fine. As we've established, they both have their pros and cons. figure out which one is more pro for you. And with that, we are done for the day. We have about 6 seconds left on our cool down. Oh, which I said I'd show you. It's blue. Activity completed. So, there we go. We bumped up to 20 minutes and we did a 2-minute warm up and a 2-minute cool down. Yay us! And with that, we are done for the day. So this has been Roly Poly Weight Loss. As always, I am your host, Roly Poly, reminding you to take care of yourself and find what works for you. Please join me next time.